That's a thing. Byzantium, an AI Byzantium released by an AI Albania in a coalition war. This is good stuff. In a normal game of Europa Universalis, aggressive expansion from taking provinces or subjects in war decays over time, trending towards 0. However, this is not a normal game of EU4, and in this video, we are going to take a look at what happens when aggressive expansion doesn't go down over time. The only way to lose it in this run will be to face a coalition of their enemies. This video was suggested by one of you wonderful Giga Chads in the comments, so shout out you rock, and I love you, no homo. Now, if you guys have a suggestion for a video, leave it down in the comments as well, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe while you're down there if you haven't already. Question of the day: of the new idea groups that have been added and or changes that have been made to existing idea groups, let me know your opinions and your favorite and least favorite changes in the comments below. Now, there's nothing to explain that I wouldn't have already said in the intro, so let's just go ahead, jump right in, speed 5 and unpause. Now, this current wars tab here in the ledger is probably going to be the most useful way to keep track of what's going on, because it's really hard to keep track of every single war in the world unless you have this tab open here. And the first one is going to be the 100 Years War, of course, with the French most likely taking some land from mainland Europe from the Brits. Of course, that's the way they normally do it. The rest is mostly Japan and the Mamlukian conquest of some land in the desert that nobody cares about. So over time, we're going to be checking in on a few of the major nations, especially the ones that you expect to see a lot of conquering from, like Austria with the personal unions and whatnot, because the AE is never going to go down, which means it's only going to go up, right? That's how that works, right? But anyways, I'm excited to see what kind of punitive wars fire off, because they will. It's guaranteed, and I'm really excited to see who comes out on top. Who do you guys think is going to come out on top? And no surprise, the inaugural war of Muscovy between them and Novgorod going to kick their teeth in and take as much land as they can. And obviously the AE is going to be an issue for them because everybody around them is going to hate them for it. And as they peace out, taking a look here at the AE map mode, you can see they have 22 aggressive expansion with Lithuania and 17 with Sweden, less so with other people around them, 31 with Ryazan actually, and 38 with Tver. So anybody who goes over 50 can join a coalition, as long as there are, I think, 4 nations that can join. And this will never go down. So for the rest of the game, even if they don't declare a single war, Muscovy will have 2 aggressive expansion with France, and it's never going to go down. So this is what we can expect in the beginning. Now, let's see what happens when we start ramping up that conquest. So Provence has been the victim this time here of Burgundy. They took 1 province from Lorraine, as well as this Barrois or Barra, or however this region is pronounced. And AE is definitely there. They have like 35 with France, and it's not going to get any better. 38 with Savoy. So if they take 1 more province, literally 1 more province, they will probably get a coalition of half the HRE, and then they're going to get dogpiled on. 39 with Austria. So yeah, this is going to get very interesting very quickly. Meanwhile, Sir Otto the Turks have actually already got themselves into a bit of a pickle. They cannot get a coalition yet. I think, like I said, it has to be 4 or 5, one of the 2. But they are dangerously close to getting an absolute butt ton of Christians in on their booties. And yep, we'll see how that goes. And as far as the 100 Years War go, France is doing just fine because it was all return course, except for Alençon. Apparently they released a duchy, or an appendage. It's not a duchy. So that's pretty cool. Aside from that, they're basically going to be all conquest because they don't have any more cores to retake. So we'll see how things go for France. And of course, I'm obligated to tell you guys that Kosovo is actually Albania in this timeline in a video game. Don't jump on me down in the comments. People always get very fired up about that. But either way, Skanderbro has grown, but at what cost? Just a couple of AE, actually. It's really not that bad. And this puts them in a good position to fight off the Turks if and when they decide to go against them, because they are guaranteed by Venice. So this might be a nice little choke point here, a little bit of a flashpoint, so to speak, for the Ottomans, maybe getting involved in a war that they aren't going to be wanting in. But with France's annexation of the entirety of Brittany, they've got a couple of people pretty upset. The boys down in Iberia to the south have over 40. Austria is almost at 40, as well as the lowlands and a bunch of these people over here in the Rhineland in northern Germany. Very upset with France. So yeah, Burgundy and Liège can actually join their coalition right now. But again, there needs to be a couple extra people that could join. England could join, and they probably will when their truce is up, because the AI doesn't ever declare day 1 wars as soon as truces expire. So we're going to see a lot of punitive wars going at one time. And meanwhile, up in the north, you've got England literally conquering the entirety of Ireland in like 5 years, and literally nobody cares. That's sad, but you know, I don't really have a strong opinion one way or the other. And without even getting a coalition, Muscovy here attacked the Great Horde, took a pretty big beating in that war, but then turned around and attacked the Livonians immediately after piecing out of the Great Horde, and they lost. The Livonians just took a ton of land in this war with their allies of the Teutons because Muscovy stepped in it and bit off a little bit more than they could chew. I personally love to see that. I think it's always funny when the AI like messes around and finds out, and you know, just adds a little bit of extra flavor to the series. I always love seeing it. And Castile has personal unioned both Aragon and Navarra. Naples broke free, but Castile is now pushing Aragon's claims over here, taking a ton of land in Tunis and picking up a bit of aggressive expansion along the way for themselves. I don't know if it's going to be enough to get themselves a coalition, but it might sooner or later get a bunch of Northern Africans teamed up against them. And here we go. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I've been looking for here. Lubeck took a bunch of land from Mecklenburg, who had taken a bunch of land from a bunch of people around them. They have a punitive war that has been declared on them. A couple of their Hanseatic brethren are helping them out, but everyone else is just going to dogpile on them. They've already taken heavy losses, and they have like half of what the punitive war has. So yeah, these guys are going to get dismantled. Now, I will say this. When you lose land in a coalition war, you actually lose aggressive expansion, scaling with how much land you lose in the peace deal. So we may or may not actually see some cyclical stuff, like people who will conquer a bunch of land because their tag is really strong and then lose it, and then like reconquest war for less AE. So we'll see how that turns out. But for now, this is the first punitive war I think of the run, and we're only 22 years in, so it's going to get spicy. And not necessarily related to the task at hand here, but boy, my friend Timmy has been smashed. They actually swapped places with Fars, where they annexed Fars, and now they are Fars. So yeah, that's the thing. And now the Ottomans are pushing a bunch of claims that they have here in the Balkans, and their AE is already really high with a lot of people. I guarantee you they're going to trigger a coalition war with this war, assuming that they take more than like 4 or 5 provinces, because a lot of these guys up here are already just about ready to join them, and we'll see how things go. I think that they will get dogpiled. I don't think really any AI is equipped to handle a punitive war like maybe a player would be, but yeah, we'll see. Even the people in the south, the Mamluks still hate them a lot. So either way, the Ottomans are going to be doomed, because they either have to push north into the Catholics, or the Christians in general, or push south into the Muslims, and both will result in them getting coalition. So maybe it's not so good to be kind of at this point on the map. Now, the AI is being really weird because the Ottomans pieced out Hungary and didn't take any land. I think they're afraid of their AE maybe, but then they turned around and within like 2 months attacked the Mamluks, who have a pretty large alliance, like a 1-to-1 alliance with them. So seems a little aggressive there, but who knows? Maybe they'll come out of this on top. They are the Ottomans after all. And since Hungary was at the weakest they've ever been, Austria and Bohemia both went in to pick at the bones that the Ottomans left behind. Bohemia very much skirting with disaster here, getting within probably 1 province of the coalition, that is. And we'll see how things go with them. I'm not sure. Maybe the AI is being smart and saying, hey, I want to avoid a coalition. I actually assume that's what's going on. It's inevitable. It has to happen. It happened up here. So maybe we'll see more of that. I guarantee you the Ottomans will have something happen if they take a lot of land from the Mamluks. Yeah, that is definitely what's happening, because the Ottomans took some land in Cyrenaica to avoid a coalition, and then thus saving themselves from more people joining the coalition. Though now that Venice has joined, maybe like Herzegovina, Albania, Moldavia, maybe those guys will get involved. Yo, since when was this a thing? You can join a coalition? They actually made it so you know? I'll be honest, I don't even have the achievement for joining a coalition of more than 5 members or whatever, because I literally don't pay attention to AE from AI nations, because they basically never get a coalition. So that's a nice little touch. I really appreciate that. That's going to open up a lot of playstyle opportunities for players. And my friends, Albania grows larger yet annexing Bosnia. So that's a thing. Also, France took a big chunk of land from Burgundy, and they are left with 49 AE with a few people like Austria, but no coalition for them. They're being smart about it. And I got too excited too soon, because Skanderbro is getting dominated by the Otto, though you have to remember they probably won't lose any land because the Ottomans are trying to avoid a coalition. So I did not expect it to be this way, but now I'm really curious how it's going to go, like how the AI is going to skirt around AE, whether they're just going to keep declaring wars and like taking all their enemies' money, or if they're actually going to put themselves in a situation where they're going to get a coalition. I don't know. But at the same time, this one is guaranteed to get a coalition here. We have the Austrian-Bohemian Unification War, and I'm fairly certain if the AI can click the button, they will click the button. They're like hard-coded, say, I want the PU, I want it. And if that's the case, they will 100% get a coalition here. Let's see what the union with Bohemia will do. Oh yeah, that'll be a good one. Lads, France has some balls of steel as well. 40 years in, and they've united most of France, and they are attacking Castile, who called in their PU of Aragon and Portugal. Portugal as just an ally. But that's going to be a very tough war for them, but they are doing well so far. So we'll see. If they take a single province, they're going to get a coalition. So I don't know. I'd be surprised if they took any land at this point. Turns out the AI is a big dum-dum and they didn't even get the PU. They like got a white piece or something. So no PU for Austria, no coalition for Austria. Not quite yet. Here we go. Now things are getting spicy for the Ottomans. The Mams, Venice, Hungary, Moldavia, a bunch of people around them have joined the coalition. So hopefully they get attacked pretty soon. The Mamluks alone making up for a big chunk of the force limit. Venice actually has a bigger army than the Mamluks, so never mind that. But maybe we're going to see the Ottomans get stomped. That'd be interesting. Ooh, and while I'm here, I should probably point out that France took a couple of provinces from Castile and Aragon, and they got a coalition between England, Austria, and a bunch of HRE miners. So now I would be very surprised if they don't get attacked because they are probably outnumbered by this coalition. I think I can actually check here if I click on... Oh, yeah, they outnumber them. They definitely outnumber them. So that would be good to see. And in the most big brain move possible, the Ottomans said you can't get coalitioned if you declare an offensive war against your coalition first. So the Ottomans, the Mad Lads, really just attacked their coalition of Hungary, the Mamluks, Venice, as well as a couple of other guys. And they are taking a beating. But the enemies of the war have also taken quite heavy losses. Hungary has somehow lost almost 30,000 men. So it looks like they're winning. The Ottomans are winning this war. Now, it seemed that France was feeling weak, or at least somebody thought they were, and Liège declared the punitive war. And France is absolutely rolling them. They have like double the army they did at the beginning of the war. They have inflicted 100,000 casualties on their enemy while taking 60 of their own. Safe to say that France might not be able to be stopped, at least not in the early game. Bro, the AI is absolutely nuts this patch. They just pieced out their coalition, didn't take anything, and immediately declare a reconquest war on Lorraine. So they're going to be trying to pick up some more AE since they can't get a coalition. Maybe that's how it's going to work, is they're going to cycle their coalition. So in between coalitions, they'll pick up more AE and kind of get more people in the new coalition. I really don't know. Now, this is what I'm talking about when I call it a punitive war. You can see France here was attacked. It was actually Spain that attacked, calling in the coalition of England, a bunch of people over here, Burgundy, Austria. Spain is united as well, and they are very scary. All the while, France was declaring an offensive war over in Italy. So it seems like they probably lost a couple of troops or something, and it triggered them to get attacked. Now, these numbers are pretty rough for them. You can see here they are outnumbered about 50%, and they have a lot of artillery. Spain has over 20,000 artillery, even more than France. And yeah, it's probably not going to go well for them. I imagine they are going to get absolutely dominated. Even if they don't lose on the military front, they are going to be against a lot of people who are going to be able to carpet siege them very quickly. And with the Reformation underway, I believe Brandenburg had gone Protestant, converted a couple of provinces over here, and it actually converted Danzig, I believe, and then these guys decided to go Protestant. So we have a Prussia here. This is a Teutonic Prussia with their capital over here in Königsberg. They have militarization of the state, giving them crazy bonuses. And if they want to go to war, they can go to war, but they can't really take any land because then they're going to get coalition. So maybe Tall Prussia is the way. Tall Prussia will win the game. But yeah, just look at the swarming going on here. These guys are absolutely dominating in the lowlands. Meanwhile, they're getting full occupied in the south of France, and Paris is actually soon to be sieged down, though it looks like they pushed them back. They're being weird. The AI is like doing probing attacks, so I don't know. I imagine it's just gonna get to a point where the AI is gonna be like, okay, we've been at war for like 15 years. Let's get peace now. And they literally pieced out as I was about to unpause. They actually took land in the lowlands. They took Zealand, I'm pretty sure, and they had inflicted almost 250,000 casualties on their coalition, and the coalition surrendered. So France definitely overpowered. The big blue blob is overpowered. This is crazy. I'm actually very impressed with them. I expected them to get smashed and like ganged up on, and it looks like they are getting ganged up on and they're still winning. So maybe France is the new Ottomans of this patch, though the Ottomans over here are doing pretty good on their own, though I think the AE is more limiting to them. They have less opportunity to expand. And speaking of people who received an update in domination, Muscovy not doing well, not feeling good. It doesn't look like they're going to be around for much longer. Round 2 with France between him and their coalitions, and it is not going as well for them this time. You can see they are at war with a lot of people, though they do have the illustrious Albania as their ally, but alas, I don't think it's going to do much for them. They are well under 50% of war score now, and I think it's only a matter of time before they peace out. Also, very funny story, they just attacked these guys here. This province here was owned by the Knights, because if you don't know, sometimes you can get rebels that can pop out the Knights provinces here. because it is Occitan culture, I think. So kind of a funny little thing. But yeah, the Knights have a core over here. So might see the Knights over here in southern France. It is done. The peace has been set. Champagne, Picardy, as well as this Hainaut, or however, has been released. I think maybe Flanders as well, as a couple of provinces going to Burgundy. I don't know exactly what the borders are. I know that these two guys are definitely new, maybe this 3 as well. But here's the interesting fact here. They have 0 AE with most everybody that they were at war with. So France is really big and has 0 AE with a lot of major players. So they just got to reset. That makes you think. Meanwhile, up in the north, you have the Danes pissing off literally everybody they can. Well, you know, what's new with that? But this is going to be another one. They're definitely going to lose some provinces in a coalition war. I am very much sure of that. Meanwhile, the Ottomans continues to have a lot of people that hate them quite a bit, including the Mamluks and now a massive Nogai and Lithuania, who is independent, I suppose. No, they are a personal union of Poland, but they actually are disloyal, so they may end up breaking free as well. So we'll see how things go. I'm going to let a little bit of time go, and I've been commenting way too much on this. Also, love to see an AI Persia. Shout out Persia. Also, Ming exploded. Nothing new about that either. But I haven't really shown a whole lot of what's going on because I've just been like intently following the massive coalitions going on in Europe. But either way, we have the Spanish colonizing South America, with the Portuguese colonizing the Caribbean as well as most of North America, and then a bunch of people who sound like they have potatoes in their mouth when they talk colonizing Florida, and the French and Canada, of course. But I think that's kind of an afterthought considering all the wars that they're waging on the mainland. Meanwhile, down in Africa, it appears that a lot of people are trying to kind of consolidate their region. You have Lunda over here, Katara over here, Kilwa over here, and Songhai getting most of Central Africa, or the Sub-Saharan Africa, sorted out. Meanwhile, we have Ajuran, Ethiopia, and a massive Hormuz over in this region. Sind, Bengal, and Bamanis being the major players in India, and a big beefy Oirat with their subject of Mongolia bordering a China that is very divided with a Shun, Shi, and Wu taking up the majority of the dev over here. Japan is united, and Korea hasn't changed a single province. Yeah, this is about what I expected. They're got 21,000 infantry versus 154,000 infantry. They're gonna lose. There's no chance that they win this, though I don't really know what all they're gonna lose. They're probably just gonna have to give up a lot of land in Russia, because you can't take land in a coalition war. You can only like release land. So maybe we'll see Gotland make a reappearance. That would be nice. I would like to see Gotland back. Also, I saw that Prussia here has an Asperger for their leader, which makes me think of a lot of the people that are in my Discord, which you should totally join because we have a lot of fun in the Discord. And if you are one of the homies, by clicking the join button below the video, you actually get access to special chats in the Discord. And if you don't want to support on YouTube, you can actually become a patron as well. It's going to be linked in the description. And the War of the Protestant League is on, and it looks like the Protestants are not doing that well, though they've got a couple of major players like France, Prussia, the Ottomans. The Catholics have a lot more members. Poetically, the Protestant lead is led by Prussia, and the numbers are actually very even. So we'll see how things go here, but I think the Ottomans is probably the major guy. France and the Ottomans, if I had to guess. France, yeah, oh yeah, France and Muscovy. Muscovy, despite getting their teeth kicked in, still has almost 30,000 infantry alone. So they're probably not going to be too impactful in the war, I can imagine, but you know, only time will tell. 3 years into the war, and these losses are absolutely mind-boggling. 381 for the Catholics and 373 for the Protestants, and there doesn't seem to be an end in sight. Only a 15-point swing in favor of the Protestants, but it's anybody's game still. And just 1 year later, the losses are piling up, over 1 million dead. Imagine that, 1 million people dead. And yeah, it's still like not decided, though it looks like the Protestants are going to eke out a victory because the ticking war score is going up in their favor. And here we have it, von Oldenburg here, the emperor of the HRE, the Protestant Holy Roman Empire, which is absolutely destroyed, and it will never see the light of day. There will never be a positive imperial authority except for maybe events. But yeah, that's what we have here. Turns out the Ottomans had lost like 250,000, or like 300,000 men in the war. They have 0 men, and they are getting dogpiled on what I assume is their coalition. They actually have a coalition going on, and they are actually getting attacked by the Armenians. But it looks like the boys of Skanderbro have lost some land to the Ottomans before, but they're definitely going to be getting a little bit back. And like a phoenix, it rises from the ashes. No Constantinople, but Byzantium is here, released by Skanderbro, or Albania, as well as returning all of Albania's cores to them. And it looks like a couple of other provinces were released to Karaman. So yeah, That's a thing. Byzantium, an AI Byzantium released by an AI Albania in a coalition war. This is good stuff. It really does just keep getting worse. Every time I look back at my computer, I'll get up and leave for like 5 minutes. I'll come back and it is even worse for the Ottomans. Armenia took a ton of land over here in the east, and Moldavia cut the Ottomans in half with their capital of Constantinople cut off from the lands over here in the Balkans. And they're not doing well. They are not doing well at all. And in case you guys were wondering, Crimea is actually partially Crimea and the rest is Moldavia. So that settles that debate. With the age of Reformation coming to a close here in the year 1600, the year of our Lord, Spain is well out in front with Portugal right behind them, though France is not too far as well, considering the fact that they fought like 4 coalition wars. I'll say it's a win for them. Great Britain right behind France, with Wu actually doing quite well over in China. We're going to take a look at that. The Mamluks have actually overtaken the Ottomans, and then in 8th place is Vietnam. So definitely some stuff going on over in East Asia. I did not expect the Ottomans to crumble like this. I expected them to basically struggle, but they only got coalitioned 1 time that I'm aware of, maybe 2. But they have been dismantled and they are gone now. They will not exist by the end of the game. I guarantee that. I'm very impressed with France and their staying power despite getting coalitioned multiple times and losing like hundreds of thousands of men in the Bleed War. They are very much impressive to me. I expected Muscovy to do better, considering the fact that all this land out here is low dev. I don't even know what happened to them, to be honest with you. They lost that war against these 2 guys and then just like spiraled after that. I assume that the hordes kind of made their way in, but look at the border gore over here. Novgorod's a 1 province minor, or 2 provinces maybe. And Smolensk is here, Chernigov is here, Odoyev is here, Galicia Volhynia is here, Krakow is here, looking pretty good in my opinion. This whole portion, Eastern Europe, is just a mess. It's a terrible mess. Sind, Bamanas, and Bengal looking good in India. And then in China, like I said, Wu, a great power, just because they seem to have taken up most of the land that previously was Ming land in China. And Dai Viet being the 8th great power with only this land here just says a lot about how much development is actually in Southeast Asia. Spain continues to dominate South America and Portugal continues to dominate North America, though it does look like, you know, we got the Spanish-speaking purple hair people over here pooping in the streets of San Francisco, you know, yada, 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 insert jokes about the left coast. And the French over here in Canada, Quebec is indeed Quebec this time. And when the Danes are not getting their teeth kicked in coalition wars, they are continuing to colonize the East Coast, though they've only got like 2 more provinces, 3 more provinces since we last looked. And the religious map mode is pretty interesting. We have Anglican that has formed, as well as Reformed taking up the lowlands, as well as the Rhineland and parts of France over here, and then Protestant in the rest of Germany, northern central Germany, as well as Prussia. It looks like it's actually pushing its way over here into the Baltic states as well. And over 200 years later, things look worse, a lot worse. The HRE is an absolute mess. France is a mess. Prussia is a mess. Austria is something. I don't know what you'd call that. Russia is purple this time around. Actually, Belozero is a subject of Muscovy in day 1, who is revolutionary. So we have revolutionary Muscovy, we have revolutionary France, we have Nani? Mexican Iberia? Okay, so that's a thing. Granada exists over here as a 1 province minor on the Rock of Gibraltar. Of all people to kick Prussia out of Prussia, it was Bremen. Bremen kicked Prussia out of Prussia. There is so many releasable tags around here from what I assume would be punitive wars, where people kicked people out of other nations. We have a Bulgaria over here next to a Byzantium, next to an Ottomans who managed to maintain at least a little bit of regional dominance, so you got to give it to them. As did the Mamluks, though to the south you can see a very, very, very big Somalia, of all people, and they ended up dominating the majority of the development in Africa. Of course, over in India, we have the usual suspects of Bengal and Deccan, but this time Sind managed to take over the majority of the western portion of the subcontinent, so I respect it. Of course, in Southeast Asia, it is Tonkin time, but over in China, it is Wu who maintained dominance for another 200 some years, maintaining the majority of the development in China, so that's pretty good on their part. The Manchu tribes are still an absolute mess, and Korea has 1 province outside of Korea, so I would say that Korea made some gains, and they're actually currently in a war against Wu to probably take more land. So Korea ended up doing rock solid. We have the British Moluccas, we have the Spanish Moluccas, we have the Burgundian Papuan, whatever that is. So lots of colonizers over here. But how about this Kelantan or whatever? They're like a 1 province minor from like up here or something in 1444. So I'll give them definite respect. Of course, when we looked way down to the south, we have Australia right across the sea from Australia. We have the British Congo, which is probably better than the Belgian one if I had to guess. Spanish South Africa, which is definitely better than the British one if I had to guess. South America is very Spanish, but North America is very independent, or at least part of it is. Of course, we have a massive Mexico who ended up going over the seas and conquering the entirety of Portugal's mainland Iberian holdings, which is hilarious. And then we have a United States over here. I don't actually know who formed them, but we're going to take a look. So it turns out that the United States was formed by Portuguese culture, and that is their primary. We have President Francisco de Menezes, or however that is pronounced over here, the primary leader of the United States, who is split with Mexico pushing all the way over into Indiana. So Mexico is very prolific this time. Religiously, the New World is all Catholic. Most of Europe is Catholic, with Reformed and Protestant in the northern portions, with Anglican, of course, reigning in Great Britain. Pushing out over into the Rus and into the steppes, as well as into the Balkans, is Orthodox, kind of like in 1444. Over in the east, things look mostly the same, though it looks like Confucian was converted a little bit down here by Tonkin, because it was Tonkin time. They had to spread the love of the Buddha and whatever the Zen or whatever they worship or pay attention to in that faith, all the way into southern China. We have some Sikhs over here, some Sikh men over in India as expected. But aside from that, it's nothing too interesting. Everything down under is Catholic, and everything in Africa is either foot sniffers or Sunni Islam, but there is a little bit of Catholic down there on the tip, just the tip though. Cultures in Europe look mostly what you would expect them to in 1444 compared to 1821, so nothing major that I'm seeing. The Vietnamese, as with their faith, pushed their culture up into southern China, and it looks like the Bengali pushed their culture over into the Burmese group just a bit. It's all Mexican, Platinian, and Castilian in the south of America. And the north is almost exclusively Portuguese, with a bit of Mexican Castilian over on the coast on the west portion. And the east is French and Danish with some Quebecois, though the Quebecois are actually mostly outside of Canada, which is hilarious. Turns out that everybody in Michigan speaks French, and that makes me very uncomfortable. The great powers, and it's not even close, France, revolutionary France, with over 4,000 development in the front spot, with Spain and their massive colonial empire in the number 2 spot. Great Britain with their revolutionary purple flag in the 3rd spot, with Somalia in the 4th spot, which is absolutely my favorite thing of the run. We have Mexico in the 5th spot, which I feel is not that uncommon when they break free early on in the game, and Bengal in the 6th, who I have not seen in a minute, Wu in 7th spot, and Tonkin in the 8th spot. So of all the nations in the top 8, it's only 3 of them that are actually based out of Europe, and I think that is pretty based, as the kids say. So the importance of aggressive expansion ticking down over time lets people blob, obviously. But the ability of certain nations to overcome and still maintain dominance despite the coalitions that they fight is very impressive. The fact that France is the number 1 great power actually blows my mind. Spain makes a bit more sense because of the colonial game, but how about Britain? Britain just conquered everything in their area, as well as colonized a bunch of Africa, and they managed to get the 3rd spot, so kudos to them. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel for more. And a huge shout out to the patrons and channel members who keep this channel going. If you want early access to these videos and exclusive Discord benefits, make sure you check out the link in the description or the join button below the video.